Hello students, this is your AM ma'am and today we are going to begin with our next grammar topic, that is the subject and the predicate. Let's move on. Well, every sentence has two parts, the subject and the predicate. What is the subject? It tells us who or what the sentence is about. And the predicate? It contains the verb and tells us something about the subject. Alright, let's look at a few examples, shall we? Alright, let's look at the first example. Joey and Josh play basketball every morning. Who play basketball every morning? Joey and Josh. So that's the subject. And from play to morning is the predicate portion. It contains the verb, that is play, and it tells us something about the subject. What do? They play basketball every morning. Alright, let's look at the next one. Peppa's school is in Shimla. So, what is in Shimla? Peppa's school, that is your subject. And here is the verb is. So, from is to Shimla is the predicate portion. Because the predicate portion is telling you about the subject. Where is the school? It is in Shimla. Alright. The next one. George walked into the garden. Okay. Who walked into the garden? George walked into the garden. So George is your subject. Walked is the verb. You all know that predicate must contain the verb. So this is the verb. And the whole portion walked into the garden is your predicate portion. Alright, let's move on. Alright, subject, form and function. What is the subject? It is a noun or a noun equivalent and is found as an answer to the question what or who, and it is asked before the main verb. In the previous examples that we discussed, you have seen what or who. I have been asking it to the main verb and we got our answers. Let's look at a few more. See, look at these illustrations. Noun as subject. George walked into the garden. Who walked into the garden? George walked. So George is your subject and it is a noun. Pronoun as subject. She is absent from school. Who is absent from school? She is absent from school. So she is the subject. Gerund, that is the ing verb. Smoking is injurious to health. What is injurious to health? Smoking. So that is your subject. As an infinitive, to err is human. What is human? To err. That is to make mistakes. That is your subject. And let's complete the whole proverb. To err is human. To forgive is divine. You must remember this, children. It's a very important lesson for us, isn't it? Alright. Phrase as subject. The questions in the maths paper are hard. What are hard? The questions in the maths paper. Alright, let's move on. Children, sometimes a subject remains understood. That is, you don't write it in the sentence, but you can understand it on your own. For example, in imperative sentences, let's look at it. Shut the door. It actually means you shut the door. Add a little water to the mixture. It means you add a little water to the mixture. Raise your right hand. It actually means you raise your right hand. Alright. A question that we often ask in the classroom. If you know the answer, raise your hand, isn't it? Alright. Let's move on and see a few other variations. Well, this is a very important one. As a rule, the subject comes at the beginning, isn't it? But it may come in the middle or at the end of a sentence. Let's look at the examples to get a clearer picture. I take a cup of tea every morning. Over here I have marked I in red. I is the subject. I take a cup of tea every morning. So it is placed at the beginning as usual. Now let's look at the next sentence. Every morning he walks a mile. You see, he, the subject, is placed in the middle. Now let's look at the last one. Down went the Titanic. The Titanic is the subject and it is placed at the end. So you see, sometimes subjects may be placed in the middle or at the end. Alright, great. Let's move on. Interrogative sentences, children. Interrogative sentences do not start with the subject. Let's see how. Are the maths problems hard? Do fruits contain vitamins? You see, are, do, these verbs are placed at first because they are interrogative sentences. Then the subjects, the maths problems and fruits come. Once again, exclamatory sentences do not start with subject. How cute the puppy is. What a beautiful flower. Here also the subjects, they come either in the middle or at last. Okay, let's move on to the predicate part. The form and the function of the predicate. It must contain the verb. It can also contain objects, complements or adverbials, all depending on the nature of the verb. Let's look at the examples to get a clear picture. Taylor sings. Taylor, name of a girl. Taylor Swift, you must have heard. She's a wonderful singer. Sings. It's verb only predicate. Meaning, sings is the verb, of course, but that is also the predicate. Taylor sings. That's the sentence. Taylor is your subject. Sings is your verb as well as the predicate. So it's a verb only predicate. Next one. Taylor sings a song. Isn't it? Taylor, subject, sings, verb, a song, object. So in this sentence, it is the verb and object predicate. Next one. Naira told us an interesting story. Naira, of course, it is the subject. Told, that's the verb. Now see here, children, us, it is the indirect object, and an interesting story, it is your direct object. So in this sentence, the predicate consists of the verb and two objects. Now how will you know which object is known as the direct object and which is the indirect object? Very simple. You have to ask the question what or whom. So let's ask. Naira told what? Naira told what? Naira told an interesting story. So when you ask the question what, you get the answer to the direct object. And when you ask the question whom, Naira told whom? Naira told us. So when you ask the question whom to the verb, you get the answer to the indirect object. Okay? Alright, let's move on. Here in the next sentence, your face looks familiar. In this sentence, the predicate consists of the verb and complement. Now, of course, your face, this is the subject portion, looks is the verb, and familiar over here is complement. Children, please don't get confused between objects and complements. Complements always add more information to the subject, as in this sentence, or it may add information to the object. Alright, but objects are a main part of a sentence, whereas complements may not be a fundamental part. Well, it is a significant part because it adds information about the subject or the object, but it is not at all anything like the object. Complement adds information about the subject, as in this sentence, or an object. Alright, And the last sentence here is Taylor met Bieber in the park. How many of you have heard the name of Justin Bieber? I'm sure many of you listen to his songs, don't you? So let's assume that Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber, they met in the park. Now, Taylor is your subject. Taylor met whom? That's Bieber. So Bieber is your object and met is the verb, and in the park in this particular sentence is the adverb of place. That is the adverbial. So from met to in the park, this portion is your predicate, and this is an example of a predicate which contains verb, object and adverbial. Okay, this is the adverb of place because where did they meet? Met in the park. Now children, that's it for today's class, but I have something very important to tell you in the coming slide, and I have been waiting to tell this to you for some time because now we don't get to see each other in person. We are all locked in our homes. So what do you think I'm going to say? What do you think I'm going to show? Guess? Well, let's see. Thank you. I really want to thank all of you for being such wonderful students, for appreciating my work and for giving me so much of love. This is something new for me as well as for you, but the way I have got your support and the way I have worked, it's something that we have done together, and it has become something so easy, just like a walk in the park, isn't it? So no matter what, we are always going to have this bond and we're going to do it together, isn't it? Great. So before I sign off today, time about assignments. It's on page number 7. Get it done. Only 3 exercises are there and very easy. I will upload the answer key in a few days. Till then, you practice, and children, if you like the video, please hit that like button, and I would really be grateful if you can comment about the video, whatever you liked about it. If you write a few words in the comment section, that is going to be a great thing for me. Thank you so much, all of you. Stay home, stay safe, and be very happy. Bye-bye.